PKN episode 248. Are you disappointed with the Blues, Taylor?
Not yet. Not yet. They haven't given us a chance this year to be disappointed yet. But
as soon as you started rooting for the Hurricanes, you asshole, swept out of the playoffs.
That was my bad. But to catch you up, Kyle, because I'm sure you don't pay attention to what the fuck's going on. So the Blues in the first. I'm not sure. I don't even know how many rounds there are in MLB. In the NHL, there's the first round, second round, conference championship, and then the Stanley Cup. So there's 4 total rounds. Last time the Blues made it to the Stanley Cup final was 1970, where they got swept by the Boston Bruins.
I wasn't born then.
Because at the time, the way they did it is they had just made a bunch of new teams in 1967, and they're like, well, let's just make it so all these 6 new teams and the 6 old teams are in the different conferences, so at least one of the new teams can make it. Yeah. And then every time, the best expansion team, which was St. Louis, made it, and they got swept every time because they're playing against teams that have been around. And that was still in Montreal. Was like, I don't actually think it is fair that you can use the player if they are born within 100 miles of the city. That we have dib on our Montreal French Canadian within 100 miles of Quebec. And it's like, you realize that's like 40% of hockey players. This is 1967. Like you're beating the shit out of everyone. Those fucking frogs. But anyway,
not anymore.
Blues made it back.
And that's racist. That's anyway.
Is it?
They do eat frogs.
I've had frogs.
I don't understand.
Although if you call a Mexican a beaner, it's definitely racist. The fact that they eat beans is irrelevant, So
I don't understand the insult. If you call French Canadians frogs, it's very upsetting to them, and maybe French people, but definitely French Canadians. Anyway, carry on.
Stop eating frogs. We'll stop calling you frogs.
Stop eating beans.
I don't think that's the genesis of it. But carry on.
It absolutely 100% is.
So if the Blues win tonight, so the Blues are up 3-2. Against the San Jose Sharks. We beat Winnipeg Jets in the first round, Dallas Stars in the second round, and now it's been a hard-fought series with San Jose, but ever since they had Game 3 handed to them to take a 2-1 lead in the series, that was the hand pass thing that just that really pissed the Blues off, apparently, because since then the Blues have dominated them in 2 games and have scored 7 goals to their 1, and the Blues play a very heavy-hitting style of hockey.
Of course.
To that... San Jose is not used to playing it, and so they have multiple people who are out with injuries at this point just because they've been, getting drilled over and over and over for, 6 games. And so, or I guess 5 games. This is game 6. So if the Blues win tonight, we're going to the Stanley Cup to probably get swept by the Bruins again. And so I'm very excited. That'll be great, super cool. They can still fuck up and ruin it, which would be so bluesy. One of the bluesiest things to ever Blues. So I'm not even counting my chicken. I'm not counting my chickens before they hatch. I'm just very excited that it's
count it. I'm giving you permission.
Okay.
Yeah. So this will be the first time in your lifetime that your hockey team has made it to the cup, right?
They could still lose 2 games.
Yeah, they could still lose 2 games, but if they make it to the cup, it'll be the first time in my lifetime. It'll be the first time in anyone's lifetime who was born in 1970 or later.
Yeah, a couple generations of people have never seen this happen before. It's like
2 generations of upset fans.
Like fucking Halley's Comet. Every 80 years, the Blues get a shot.
Yeah, it really is. It's almost that. But man, it is funny because I'm sure Woody followed all the stuff like on subreddits and stuff, and I'll go to certain team subreddits and see how they interact. And it's always the smaller fan bases who fucking the Bruins will be like, those fucking cunt Penguins were the worst, or, this other team were the worst. Their fans sucked. But, man, the Carolina Hurricanes fans, very classy bunch. And it's it's just because there were 14 of you for every one of them in a game day thread. So if they said anything out of line, you just buried them immediately. And so, but Sharks fans are bitch moaning and complaining as if they haven't had 3 games handed to them. And everyone knows. Everybody knows, Sharks fans. Everybody knows. Your previous opponents, they're still not too stoked on it. The Vegas Golden Knights from the first round are like, that should be us right now. Not you. But anyway, I'm super happy that it doesn't look like Joe Thornton, that bearded old-ass fuck, isn't going to get a Stanley Cup. That dirty piece of shit who it seems everybody has memory hold all of his nonsense. So fuck that guy. I would rather watch the Bruins get another Stanley Cup than Joe Thornton get one.
Me too.
Yeah, screw them. And I also don't want the Washington Capitals just won their first Stanley Cup last year. If the Sharks won this year, that's yet another cupless team that's beaten us to the punch, and they've been around for literally, I think, 26 years. We've been around for 54.
At least the Golden Knights didn't win it, because that would have been a real slap in the face.
Yeah, right? Their first year.
I would have been more okay with them winning it, because then it would have been like, okay, they literally rigged the expansion draft to make them competitive off the bat, so that if Oakland got moved,
they didn't do that for Atlanta.
Did they rig it though?
Yeah, absolutely.
They did.
No,
crazy.
No, that's not what rigging is, right? What they did, for people listening, is they changed the rules so that an expansion team was more competitive out of the gate. Yes. They did not know that they were going to get to the Stanley Cup Finals. Like they didn't see that coming. But they were like, you know what? We don't want this team to suck for 17 years. That would blow.
So
yeah, it absolutely would.
Rigging was the wrong word to say there. I should have said that I wouldn't have been as disappointed if the Vegas Golden Knights won, because it would have been like, okay, they got the most advantageous possible treatment of any expansion team that has ever existed.
They made an all-star
team. The Thrashers didn't get that. At all.
Well, at the start of the season, Taylor said that they were going to suck and get butt fucked, because they kind of got everyone's like. I'm making this up. Middling, did you say? I don't know.
I didn't think they were going to be that bad, compared to like Buffalo and shit.
But I remember most people being very surprised at how well they did. All these players that were kind of like cast off also ran. This is the 8th best player on every team. Suddenly they put them together, and these guys are having career years. So many guys having career years. And then this time they got what? First round of the playoffs knocked out? So I think they were better than they were targeting, but I just don't want to be
the career year thing was definitely true. Like they had, they pulled a guy named William Karlsson, who was like a third or fourth liner. Nobody gave a fuck about this dude. He scored 43 goals last year. Do you know what percent of NHL players score 40 goals ever in their whole career? Maybe 8%.
Yeah.
If you score consistently 20 or 30 goals a year, you're like a very solid, reliable goal scorer.
With a long career.
Is the all-time best goal scorer as far as like the era corrected he lives in. You can't compare anybody to Gretzky. It's just not fair. It's not fair. You can't compare anybody to him. But like he's the only guy who consistently pots 50 a year, and that's insane. So regardless, we don't have to stay on hockey for too long. I do understand Kyle's frustration in that when the Thrashers had their first and second expansion team given to them, like it was basically like every team in the league, like Gary Bettman calling around and being like, "All right, who's the worst person in your franchise? All right, well, instead of him, pick a minor leaguer and send him."
really heroin. Well, let's hope he kicks it down in Atlanta.
And then fucking Atlanta got so lucky that they got Kovalchuk, who really an outstanding hockey player, and he got so tired of being on a terrible Thrashers team that couldn't get a win that he's like, "This is bullshit. I'm going back to Russia." He literally did that. He just went back to Russia. And then showed up last year.
He's the only person who's ever made that decision.
Yager
did. Yeah, that would be interesting if we got a third expansion team, and they did for us what they did for the Golden Knights. I guess that is the rule now. That's what they do. I would probably get into it if we had a team. Just like I've gotten into soccer now that we have one of those.
I think we're getting a soccer team now. Maybe.
Really, everyone's we're in the paper as like, Raleigh's making this offer and that offer. We're going to build a stadium, but we don't really think we'll get a team. Oh man, is it that hard to get a soccer team?
I bet it's really expensive. That's a pretty serious stadium. I don't. Did they just do it at a football stadium? I don't even know where my team plays. I think they're the Atlanta United, which apparently is like one of the better teams in Major League Soccer.
The soccer field's way bigger than the football field, though. Like you need your own kind of stadium, right?
Yeah, it shows what I know. I honestly don't know. Like if the football stadium is
soccer fields are huge.
I don't know if an MLS soccer field.
Like I don't even know how that shit works. Yeah, I'm just really totally ignorant about that sport and how it's played. And
I remember for the World Cup they had to modify the Meadowlands to fit the field.
Yeah. Mercedes-Benz Stadium is colossal, and it's pretty brand new. I haven't been to it yet, but I've driven past it, and it is real fancy. We've got a couple of new stadiums, I guess. Like the baseball stadium's on SunTrust Park or SunTrust Field or whatever.
Yeah, the next two MLS teams are between Sacramento and St. Louis, and that's funny because it's me and Chiz, and I could not give less of a fuck. I hope they get it just because he. Well,
now you're gonna get it
because I have a lot of friends who really want it to come here, and they're like, dude, Taylor, when we get an MLS team, you got to come to a game, man. And I'm like, oh man, that's an idea.
So next two is between those, and Raleigh's not on your article there.
Oh, I just looked at the art. It was third highest, or like the next tier of team was Phoenix that they might get it. I didn't scroll down.
Oh God, how would you like to play a fucking full-length game of soccer in Phoenix, Arizona?
I'm not sure Hotland is a lot better.
Oh, it's so much better. You've been to Phoenix? It is a testament to man's arrogance.
I don't think I have been to
What is
Phoenix.
that from? It's so
King of the Hill.
Oh, yeah. This city is a testament to man's arrogance.
Peggy says that to Bobby when they get out, and it's like screaming hot. Like you can see the heat rays in the air, like the mirage.
When Bobby's like, Dad, how do people live here? You know, just like,
It's normal for their yards to be landscaped with just rocks.
That's how New Mexico is.
Is it
really?
Like
I've never
Albuquerque,
been to Phoenix, other than their airport.
They put those multicolored pebbles in their fucking yard and shit like that. They just give up on the whole idea of grass. It's just mulch or pebbles. Those are your two options for landscaping. It's a wasteland of a
I wish
place.
we could talk Game of Thrones. We're probably saving it for the show one
let's
last
save it for
time.
the show. It'd be good. Yeah. I was
Then,
watching.
everybody give all that you're allowed to say is your out of 10 rating.
Okay.
That's all you're allowed to say. No explanation.
I just want to know this. What are we rating? The season or the episode or the whole thing?
Episode.
Let's stick it to just the episode because that's what we've been doing thus far.
Episode.
Man, that was a bad episode. I don't know. I give it a 5, I guess. I give it a 5. It wasn't the 3 that I gave an episode or two ago, but it was better than that. I thought there was some. I won't go into it. I like some of the cinematography a lot. I like.
There were pieces of that. I know probably one you're thinking of. We haven't.
You absolutely do. Everybody does. It was beautiful. It was when I saw it, I was just like, "Holy shit! Somebody who knows how to make fucking movies come up with this idea."
So 5 out of 10 for you.
Yeah, 5
Taylor?
out of 10 for me.
I'm gonna say 4 out of 10.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go 7, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but I'm just happy that they answered a lot of questions. Shifting away from Game of Thrones, I feel like a lot of times, whether you go Sopranos or Dexter or heaven forbid, Kyle, help me with the
Lost,
Western that's from
Westworld?
HBO. Older than that, and they ended too
Deadwood.
soon.
Deadwood. Well, they're coming back with Deadwood. They're
I
making
hope-
that full-length movie as like their last episode.
I hope so. But Deadwood, Dexter, Lost is a fantastic example. There are a lot of things that just didn't really answer all the questions, whereas at least Game of Thrones ended. And I give them a lot of credit for that.
There is a new show that you guys need to watch before PK if you possibly can. It's called Chernobyl. It's a mini series on HBO. Fantastic show. You'll recognize some of the actors if you really look carefully, but a lot of them are in makeup and stuff.
Is
it's
it like
about
a
the Chernobyl
drama?
nuclear. Yes, it's about the nuclear disaster in Chernobyl, and it is fascinating. The first episode is like an hour and 20 minutes long, and I think maybe they're an hour long after that. I didn't really pay attention, but every time I think the third episode came out last night. I haven't watched it yet. I just realized that I hadn't watched it, and as soon as we conclude here, I'm going in the living room and fucking drawing the curtains and playing episode 3 because this shit is great. Obviously, we all know about Chernobyl, and you know, even if you're not a historian, you know the broad strokes that some bad shit went down and a reactor melted down and there was fallout, and we all played Call of Duty 4, and you got 50,000 people used to live here. Now it's a ghost town. Like we all, but you get that, and man, is it really, really good. You have this like Soviet arrogance and ignorance where, like, not to spoil much, but the disaster happens, right? And there's a big explosion.
Yeah, that's not a spoiler.
And there's the guy running the
It's like the Titanic sinks.
Yeah. Well, essentially the captain of the Titanic is there. I'll draw some parallels since you mentioned that. It's like the captain is there, and like the shipmate storms into the bridge. He's like, "Captain, We've hit. He's Scotty now. We've hit an iceberg. There's water pouring into the engine rooms. That's impossible. Take him to the infirmary. He's hallucinating.
I saw like a viral like tweet or something, or like a Tumblr post or something people were making fun of like a couple years ago, and it was someone who was just like, "Y'all know this movie about a real boat?" And it was a picture of Titanic, and it was just, it made me think, it was like, man, if this person is like 16 or something and was born in 2002, like, yeah, they might not have ever given a fuck.
If someone's young watching this, Chernobyl is a city in Russia, and it had a nuclear reactor for energy, and it went really bad. It melted down.
Yeah.
30 years ago, something like that.
I'm gonna watch this show, especially like miniseries are easy for me to get into because I know it's got a finite ending and it's gonna be
31 years ago. I did a good job.
Yeah, something like, and I'm guessing on the 88. It's somewhere right in there. Like it might have been 86. That's the year I was born, which would be 33 years. Irrelevant, but in the late 80s, this shit happened, and you got to think Gorbachev is running the place. Still the Soviet Union. You know, this isn't even Russia yet. Right. So the secrecy is paramount. And like I said, like they're going to like the guy who runs the plant, like who's hands on. They're like, yeah. He's like, oh well, we just need to make sure that the cooling tanks are still pumping water into the reactor core. And the guy's like, the reactor core is gone. It's a trench. That's impossible. Could you explain to me how an RXMB reactor explodes? Well, no, I can't explain it exactly because
Alan threw a grenade in it.
And like there's this part where the guy they forcibly send, they're like, you go and you fucking look. You look in there. And he's like, all right. And he like looks off this catwalk and he looks directly into the fucking reactor core. And essentially, it's exposed rods of uranium-235 burning at 2,000 degrees, and the air itself is being irradiated and turning green. And it's just going. It looks like an arc welder. It looks like an arc welder the size of a house down in a hole that's burning green. And it's just it's like something out of the Lord of the Rings when you look into the Mountain of Doom. Yeah. It's just going.
Or when he goes to the Witch King's hideout, Minas Morgul, and it's got that green shooting up.
That. He sees that, and when he like slowly backs away because he's a nuclear engineer, he knows he's dead.
Yeah,
and his face.
And that's how he became Leukemia Man.
Leukemia. It's not a good superpower.
He can make it to the toilet in a single bound.
He's immediately blistered red, and he just walks away like knowing that like, oh, I'm dead. I'm dead tomorrow.
There's a parallel. I was waiting for opening it. There's a movie. I think it might be called Deep Blue. Anyway, boat sinks in the middle of nowhere, and two people with scuba diving equipment last as long as they can, and they die. And it's the story of their struggle. Dude, you made all this up. You don't know what they did. There's no survivors in this thing. It's just two people whose boat sank and died. You never found the bodies. How did you make a movie about this? You don't know. So how exactly this guy and his thing, I wonder if there's any survivors to tell the story.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of survivors. Yeah, a lot of them. And a lot of them.
Though,
from that room?
Well, not from that room. That guy in particular, he melted before he got very far away.
Did anyone who saw it live long enough to tell this story?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's kind of a key thing about this. Like, there's a guy who's like telling the story, and this miniseries opens with him like recording all this on cassette tapes, because and he's a key figure. He's a nuclear he's the expert on that reactor who they call in when everybody finally agrees that. Actually, no. When he gets there, they're still like, would you explain to me how an RXMB nuclear reactor explodes? And he's like, well, no, I can't. But that's graphite on the roof. That's what's around the rods down in the reactor core. So if there's chunks of that on the roof, then the reactor has exploded. It's real good. And you get so frustrated with the fucking Soviet everybody's afraid of the guy above them, right? Because shit rolls downhill, and everybody's like, well, it's not our fault, boys. It's not our fault. Alexei was the guy looking at the controls. Okay, we all know it was Alexei's fault, right? And then the guy above him is like, with his like equals, they're like, It's okay, guys. Dimitri was running the plant. Everybody knows, right? And then the guy above him is like, Sir Kimonov, he is in charge of that whole division there. You know, this is
so wait, shit was rolling uphill, it seems.
Well, like everybody up higher is blaming the guy down below them. So that it's definitely rolling down, because by the time you get to Gorbachev, you know, he's just like, well, what are we gonna do now? And they give him like the nightmare scenario of like, well, if we don't act now, and by now I mean in the next 6 hours, the entire continent will be irradiated. About 100 million people will be exposed. Cancer rates are going to go up about 85%. All of Ukraine, Lithuania, like naming all these countries that'll be uninhabitable. Like most of the radiation will be gone in 50 years, but some of it won't be gone for 50,000 years.
I hope they include a quick geography lesson in this show, because I don't really know where all these places are put.
At the time, it'd be much easier, because he'd be like, the entire East Bloc.
Yeah. I'm going to need Google Maps to watch this.
It might help. It's but very good acting, really good special effects. I thought for what it is, they probably had a decent budget, and some good actors, good acting. I recognized, like I said, a few of the actors. I can't name them, but they, you know, they're like those supporting actors that you'll recognize from like half a dozen good shows that you've seen before.
Man, I'm down to watch this. This sounds interesting.
I'll check it. I was going to watch something else, but it comes out in June. Black Mirror.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, that comes back. 3 episodes, which is not a lot, but 3 episodes are coming out in June.
Yeah, that's an odd season. Oh no, it's a British show, so it's a series. This is series 4, where we only do 3 episodes, because fuck you, we can do what we want.
Yeah, I'm looking for more. What's the one about the Birmingham street gang of thugs?
Oh, Peaky Blinders.
The Peaky Blinders. Yeah, I could do with some more Peaky Blinders. I'm a big fan of that.
Is that still going? That did not hook me.
It's okay. It's still. I guess it is still going.
Oh yeah.
It entertained me, but at no point was it one of those shows that, like, when I wasn't watching it, I was like, man, I wonder what's going to happen in Peaky Blinders. Whereas, like, with Game of Thrones, with even stuff like Oz from The Sopranos, I've seen, like, those kind of shows, like, I'd be thinking about it. I'm sure when I start, I decided I'm going to finish Sopranos before I do Wire.
I have this.
So I need to jump back into Sopranos.
Do you guys watch British tough guys, UK tough guys, and assume they're not tough at all? I recognize the intellectual disconnect here, but whenever I see like a gang of slightly chubby, pasty white guys, I'm like, huh, I wonder how many of them I could take. As if I'm some sort of superhero, and these aren't full-grown normal men.
Yeah.
You do remember why they call them the Peaky Blinders, right?
Because they blind you.
They've got
Because they blind you with a hat full of razor blades. That's their opening move.
I know.
Yes, that's their opening
That's
move.
silly. James Bond did that too, and it was just as silly back then. No, but like across this, moving away from Peaky Blinders just a little bit, when I see all sorts of shows about like hooligans or hoodlums or like gangs and people dealing with bullies, maybe school kids or something, and then I see the bully is an overweight British kid, I'm like, the fuck? How do these people have? They don't. America's got some better bullies.
I don't know.
These guys look like NFL players.
You ever see that movie about Charlie Bronson, like the most dangerous British prisoner?
Oh yeah, I've seen that. It's got Tom Hardy in it.
Tom Hardy.
That's a really good movie.
With that mustache. It's a true story. This guy.
I think you've talked about it before on the show.
I think it's on Netflix. It is fucking good. This guy was a bad motherfucker. He just kept making mistakes and kept getting more and more time.
It kept getting more and more bad. Like, you're like, oh my God, he did that? And then he tops it. It just kept getting crazy.
What was that scene in that show where he's in the prison room and he kidnaps one of the guards? Yeah. The guard's sitting down and Bronson's taking his shirt off and he's a very big guy.
Real muscular.
Very muscular, not like a ripped, but like a thick guy, like a barrel-chested thick guy. And the guard's sitting there just terrified, like, what are you going to do with me? He's like, I think you know what I'm going to do. And he's like stripping off and getting naked. And he's like, lube me up. And just hands this guy a big thing of butter to start like smearing on him because he's getting ready. He's like, those guards are going to be here any second. Quicker, now, enough. And he, like, as he's getting buttered up everywhere, and he turns around and makes the guy butter up his ass. And then as soon as he's done, he turns around and like pushes the guy away. Other guards come in, and he's butt ass naked, covered in butter, just sliding out of grips and throwing punches. And
They can't grab him.
They can't grab onto him.
They come in at riot gear.
Yeah, that's such a good scene.
My mind went crazy. Like, what are you gonna do to me? I think you know. Let's
That's
start
how the
lubing
viewer
up.
feels.
Yeah, and I'm like, I've got a couple ideas here, and I don't like any of them.
Because he just handed him a thing of butter. He's like, "What are you gonna do to me?"
Yeah, he'd be like,
Lube me up.
Yeah, my response would be like, well, all right.
Yeah. You want to get it in other places? The money's gonna. You think
That wouldn't end well. Yeah, he gets all greased up, and he's just and I'm thinking, like, if I'm one of the guards and I like chink look in there and he's all shiny, and I think he'd made like a makeshift like he'd wrap like rags around his fist or something and maybe put like a metal thing in there, like he'd made himself like bullshit prison weapons. He's, come on then, like he's excited for this fight. He wants it. He could just lay on the floor and they take him away. He wants to do battle, and they come in and they do battle.
He would keep going to prison for like initially not very serious things. Or it'd be like, all right, well, you stole that and you're going to be in the can for the next 18 months. And then like after 9 months, he'll have racked up another 12 years because of how many people he's fought and how many guards he's assaulted.
Yeah.
And like he took pride in being, you know, England's toughest prisoner.
Yeah.
You know, he really cut a rug on people's faces.
A long time ago, I was probably 21. I applied for a job, and the guy interviewing me taught decision-making to prisoners. And it was fascinating. We talked about him a little bit. And he's like, you know, they're all in there just because for a heartbeat, they didn't make the right decision. Somehow it wasn't clear to them that the consequence for going left when you should have gone right on this thing is huge. And he's like, so, you know, I go in there, and he was very proud of the recidivism rate, if I pronounced that right.
You did.
Was much lower for the people that he sort of coached than it was for the people that he didn't. And it burned into my head like, man, some people just don't see awful decisions that they're making.
Yeah.
This guy, he stole something. He could get out in 18 months and have a regular, normal life.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like stealing out of malice. I want to say that like he stole like an engagement ring because he loved a girl. Like it was something like that.
It was something like that.
Yeah.
Still a poor decision, right?
Speaking
but it's not like, you know, he burgled an old lady and like beat her up. You know, that's just think like to buy drugs or like, you know, just to profit and like live a fancy lifestyle. Like he wanted to get married. You know, it's certainly not stealing bread to feed your children, but it's somewhere between that and like beating up an old man, an old pensioner or something to like go party.
Okay. Yeah. There was no violence. Go ahead, Taylor.
Oh, no. This is a totally different thing I just saw online. That when the Blues were in last place on January 2nd this year, a guy in St. Louis, Scott Barry, bet $400 on them to win the Stanley Cup. And if they win the Stanley Cup, because of the odds he got, he would parlay, or they'd go from $400 to $100,000. Wow.
They need to win 5 out of their next 8 games.
Yep. And so that would be the coolest way to make a bunch of money ever. Like just a bullshit pick like that where it's like, they're the worst team in the league. I'll throw a couple hundo on there. And that guy, in Game 7 of the Dallas series, which was last round, someone offered to buy the ticket or the bet off of him for $20,000. He said no.
Wow.
So clearly he's doing all right for himself, because I may have taken that deal.
I think I'd have taken that deal too.
Yeah.
At this point, I wouldn't, though, right? Let's say they're in the cup, because I think they're virtually in the cup. I would say they've got a much better than a 1 in 5 chance of winning.
You take 50 right now, though.
50? I might.
It's hard to gauge, though, because like Boston and St. Louis are very well matched teams. Like they're very similar style, very heavy hitting. The Blues a little more heavy hitting. The Bruins have the edge in goaltending, but goddamn, the Bruins' walk to the Stanley Cup Finals has been a lot easier than the Blues. Like
words hurt.
Like Carolina is a good team, but they were too novice-y. Like the Bruins rolled them. Who else did the fucking Bruins play? Toronto, a team that couldn't hit you if you stood there and dared them to.
Well, you know, it's
Columbus, a team that hits pretty hard, but like they're coming in with way less strain on their bodies than the Blues are. If the Blues make it,
remember how Kyle's picks were so much better than Taylor's?
Mm-hmm.
If Taylor's St. Louis to win the Cup pick comes to fruition, he might be the best choice of the thing.
I don't know how you score those.
I don't know. My first round was bad.
I've seen, I don't know how you score them either. Sometimes like every round counts for the same amount. So like that last game counts as much as the first set of games.
Yeah.
Oh no, I think I did have the Bruins to the Eastern Conference Finals too. So maybe it wouldn't be that bad.
Yeah, if you called the Cups, then you might have something going on there.
Yeah.
Or no, I thought Pittsburgh was going to be in the Cup, but
I saw
in the first round.
Pittsburgh.
I saw Conor McGregor did an interview with
Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins. Did you listen to any of it?
I got bored about halfway through. I thought it sucked. It was just them jerking each other off nonstop about how hardworking and wonderful and dedicated they are. How they've never had an ounce of luck in their entire flipping lives, and that they just got there through dedication and gumption.
Who's Tony Robbins?
He's that motivational speaker,
like 7 foot tall.
That weird looking guy.
I think you'd know.
Weird looking. Yeah, I skipped the first 20 minutes because there was, I didn't care about that. I thought it was pretty good though. I liked, Connor believes in that sort of that's the secret or whatever. Visualizing, the things and making them happen for yourself. So it's always interesting hearing him talk about that. And he talked about the Habib fight. And he talked about the Mayweather fight. And then I
might be interested in hearing about his hardships, and this is true on a similar note on YouTube videos. I really enjoy the struggles that people go through more than just people's like nonstop victories. And
he talked about being a plumber, and like he was like, there I was. I'm not even a certified plumber. I'm the guy who's got to go get the tea and go to the store and buy the copper pipe.
Yeah, but he talked about it. Just jerking himself off the whole time. Like, I came from the lowest of lows. I'm so motivated. This is the source of my motivation. He was flattering himself enthusiastically for the first 30 minutes of this interview. And it's like...
That's not like him.
No, I get it. But like, I prefer a guy who has a little bit of humility in there, who has a little bit of like a self-awareness even, like he seems to lack self-awareness. He's so freaking proud of himself. And I quit halfway through. Like I was waiting for that. Maybe I'd like to hear him talk about the Khabib part. I don't know. How did it go? Did he just talk about how great he was?
Yeah.
Why it didn't.
Yeah.
Did he really?
Yeah.
It's hard to find 10 seconds in a row of that fight where he looked good.
Well, he had a broken foot.
It doesn't help. Yeah. For people who don't know, MMA culture is a funny thing. If you say, like, oh, well, I went in there one-handed, all the fans jump on you and say, like, no, you're making excuses, you're trying to invalidate the other guy's win, et cetera, et cetera. But really, if you go in there with, like, one broken hand, that's a tough gig, right?
Yeah.
He's in there with
it was like, I figured I had 7 more weapons, like his elbows, knees, the other foot, and
he does that. Hands. I've seen him go into a fight with a thumb that wasn't functional. He's like, you don't need a thumb to fight. And I love that. I mean, that's pretty neat, I think, as a fan, when you see a guy who's just not afraid and 7 more weapons. But yeah, I don't mean to be a Connor hater. I just wish that I could get some sincerity in there,
I think the audience has something to do with it. It sounded to me, and look, I don't know anything about Tony Robbins' podcast, but it sounded to me like there was a live studio audience of maybe 1,000 people or something.
Oh.
And perhaps those people are there, and that's the show they're there for. That motivational, like look at me as an example. This can be you visualize and achieve, sort of fake it till you make it kind of thing. Like. That's what I took from it. I hear everything you're saying. And also, he's promoting his shit. He's continuing to be a multimillionaire by being like, oh, the McGregor fast system, that 10 weeks on that. And I was ready for that 32-minute fight with Floyd Mayweather. I wish they hadn't stopped it so early. I'd have liked to have gotten my win back in me and go one more round at least. And hey,
did you hear? What did you hear?
A bomber. Sounded like a bomber.
Was it flying by you?
No. I don't know where it was. I heard it through my mic though. Like it wasn't one of you. Nobody else heard it.
I thought it was a.
I can hear
Vibrating
somebody
fan.
using a lawnmower.
Okay.
Maybe that was it.
Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
No, it's fine. I was. What? Am I being bombed again? It's, but yeah, you know, he's promoting
These
his
ATF
whiskey.
cunts are getting real.
It took me a moment to process that.
Yeah, he's talking about his training system. He's promoting that, and he's promoting his whiskey. He's promoting his fashion line. You know, all that. He's just, you know, he's selling. He's selling. That's about what I expect from a Tony Robbins interview. Now, if he's on there with, I don't know if there are any real journalists anymore. It seems like everybody's a fucking opinion guy. There's no. But
I'd like to see him. Like, I want to say with Dr. Phil, a lot of times people seem to expose their vulnerabilities, their low moments. I saw Sansa with him recently. I forget her real name. And I'd like to see McGregor on Dr. Phil and hear him about. I was about to say things he overcame, but the damn plumber story was just about how virtuous and amazing he was.
You know where he'd be good would be on Stern.
Stern is actually a great interviewer.
Stern did Ronda Rousey when she was at her peak, and that was a real good interview. I think Dr. Phil's a hack. You know, like I don't think he's a real doctor, and I'm pretty sure. And
might be.
I think he's just. I think, but I could be wrong about that.
I think he was just kind of foisted into his current position by Oprah, because he used to just be like, and now we have Dr. Phil coming out, and he's like, now you have a problem with beating your wife, and it's unacceptable.
So he's wait.
He is a doctor.
He holds a doctorate in psychology.
That'll do.
Now I'm a doctorate in helping you get your shit together.
But that's not a medical doctor. But I feel like they really rip a guy who has a doctorate in psychology.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I didn't want like an oncologist to help people with their problems on a talk show. I feel like a guy with a doctorate in psychology.
No, that would be a hilarious show where it's like,
well, at least you don't have stomach cancer.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how painful stomach cancer is? Oh, your mommy didn't love you? At least you're not rotting out from the inside and shitting blood, you little bitch. Oh, now, God, Dr. Hakeem is a bad motherfucker.
The tests have come back. You do not have pancreatic cancer.
Oh, God, how dark would that show
because we're trying to figure out if I'm the baby daddy. I mean, it's like, oh, no, we don't do those kinds of tests.
And he got his big break
do you not have cancer program.
He got his big break from Oprah, but I feel like that invalidates his accomplishments a little bit too. I mean, he's been away from.
She got the ball rolling, but he's done a great job.
But she's been off the air for a long time. He's his own star.
I just paint him with the same brush as people like Maury, and by association, people like Jerry Springer. I feel like they're all cut from the same cloth to some extent. Like, you know, exploiting people with disabilities, exploiting people with, and not in the kind of funny way that I enjoy, and but in a serious kind of way where they just have a freak show sometimes on live television, and it feels wrong. And
you're probably I haven't watched enough of him to have an informed opinion,
Maury's
but I think of him as like an emotional Dave Ramsey, right? Dave Ramsey calls people up, listens to them for 8 minutes, and then solves their financial problems. This guy does that with sadness or weight gain or whatever.
You know, Dick Masterson was on his show, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that clip.
He's the funniest guest ever on that show.
The woman stands up and she says something like, I bet you can't even get a date. And Dick's like, I got women lining up to go out with me, honey. And she's like, yeah, I'd be at the end of that line. So he goes, well, if you got on the treadmill a little more, maybe you'd make it to the front. And she goes,
He could have also just said like, so you're saying you're still in line.
Yeah, there's a couple good answers, but I like the treadmill one.
Yeah, and like there's the over the top, like it was really like a big day in trolling because people didn't know that kind of behavior yet. Like he was so over the top, shaved head, big ass aviators, just mustache, misogynistic as shit, and everybody's sitting there, and Dr. Phil's sitting there. There's the black guy with his arms around two women, and he's trying to like play it more like, well, I'm not as crazy as this glasses guy. And Dick keeps pulling him into the flames further and further. That's such a funny bit. Too bad he's, known enough now that he can't get on those shows.
Yeah, like Bill Burr didn't get the joke. Bill Burr thought this guy was for real. So good. You've seen that, right? Like Bill Burr reacting to it?
Really? Bill didn't get it? That's real. That's pretty dumb.
Bill's like, I saw this guy. He hates women. It's great.
Oh man, it was refreshing.
I miss when Bill Burr hated women.
Me too. Hey, but whenever they get divorced,
It's coming.
that's going to come back. It's going to be
coming.
the best comedy special of all time.
Black whore.
Although, having said, who's
She
Chris
made me
Tucker?
get rid of my dog. My dog.
Chris Tucker came back and he was like respectful and kind towards his ex-wife in the special.
I'm sure you kind of have
I'm
to
not
be to
saying
some extent because it's in
not
the
Chris
agreement.
Tucker. Who is it? Chris Rock.
It's
Is what
Chris
I'm
Rock.
going for it. Yeah.
I knew who you're talking about.
He has to be. There's probably an agreement.
Yeah, an NDA or something tucked in there where
There
you can't
could
say
be.
anything
Ah,
disparaging.
she's great.
No,
That is how Bill would fucking handle it. He's too famous now. He'd be like, "Yeah, we got a divorce. Now my wife, she's fucking great, but me, I'm a psycho." And it's like, Bill, shut the fuck up. You haven't been a psycho in 6 years now. You've been I say things that are mostly accepted by society and then pretend it's outrageous. How you like that? It's like, you used to really go on Conan and make him uncomfortable as shit because you'd go off the rails. You don't do that anymore. Go watch his old Conan interviews. They're so funny because you can tell Conan sitting there like, oh, okay, Bill. Thank you very much.
is
Anyway,
it
on to
because that's
this.
Conan's stick to? I never know how much is planned in this. You know, they rehearse them before the day starts,
Well, they
Yeah,
do a pre-interview.
Yeah, I'm sure they.
and then they just
pre-interview, but
they
Have you seen
do
Anthony
it again
Jeselnik's?
later on.
You may be right.
Have you seen
Who?
Sorry.
Anthony Jeselnik's special on Netflix?
Yeah, I
it's-
saw it, and I thought most of his one-liners were good. It gets kind of weird and weak in the last part of the special, where it's just him like describing his own Twitter. I was bored by that, but all his one-liners were real good. Maybe I'm thinking of an older special.
It's the one where he closes with the story about taking the girl to the abortion clinic.
Oh, is this a new special?
Yeah, brand new.
Oh, then I've only seen his old one. I haven't seen.
He's
this
got a
one.
15-minute bit about taking a girl to the abortion clinic. It's pretty good.
good payoff.
You never know where your material will come from, or maybe he does. Maybe he's taking her, like making notes. Like, they're gonna love the part about the judgmental
the baby dying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There was. I'm trying to think exactly how it went, but like the nurse comes out and she's like, "You're here with Kristen for the abortion." He's like, "Abortion? I'm here for a sonogram."
Well, bad news.
Dude,
You can still see the baby. It is in a hefty bag.
oh Jesus Christ, dude! Abortions. There's like 20
few of
states
them.
now. 20 states are making abortion
20?
illegal. That I saw it on
Missouri
one of these
was
news.
third.
No, Missouri is on there. Are your
Yeah.
guys'
Yeah.
states on there too?
Yeah,
His
but
is, mine's.
I was first.
Yeah, Alabama, Georgia, Missouri. There's a bunch on the top of my list here, and one of the
The-
K's,
the
Kansas,
severity
Kentucky. Who knows?
varies.
One of the K's, Kentucky,
Yeah, they're both
The
the same.
severity varies.
Kansas. Yeah.
So Georgia is a 6-week thing, which is when the heart rate becomes detectable. Alabama is basically an all-out prohibition, essentially,
Except for health of the mom. I think even Alabama
except
has
for
that.
health of the mom. But incest and rape don't make the cut.
Mhm.
Literally, where they stick the scissors in the baby's skull and open it. And
I figured it was a
and-
drill attachment all this time. Carry on.
no, the partial birth abortion, they wait till the baby's head crowns and they insert a pair of scissors directly into the baby's skull, open them to create an opening, and then suck out the brain with it.
Because I have a device for stirring paint that you put on a
Humane.
power drill, and it seems like it would do great.
with the spinny. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
I could
used that on-
revolutionize this industry.
Nurse,
I've
hand
used
me
that
the
on
surgical ball peen hammer.
Yeah, that's how like we used to like hollow out watermelons to like fill them up with gasoline and then shoot a gasoline melon so it explode and make fireballs.
Okay.
And I took you'd take a clothes hanger and just tighten the power drill around it and like it's a bit and just kind of bend it into like a little thingy like this, like a Y, and get that down in the melon and it just liquefy the whole inside and you could dump it out. That's what the Egyptians did as well.
Yeah,
Get
it
the
makes
brains
tasty
out.
juice.
It makes tasty juice. I'm told. I don't know.
Well, out of a watermelon, it would.
I don't like. Oh well, I was thinking of the baby.
Oh, that's probably not a good
Jesus
taste.
Yeah, make you smart though. I'm told. Missouri though, well, it depends on the baby. They do that for different reasons. In Missouri though, I think it's 8 weeks. 8 weeks. So you got to look a little buffer
They're all
there.
saying that the moms don't even know they're pregnant at 6 weeks. Now, there has to be a 4-week late period. Don't you have any suspicions?
That
I don't know. All women are different, I suppose, but that seems like a pretty late.
I feel like we're not allowed to talk about that because we don't get periods. But look, I know girls who do get periods, and they have like a calendar on their phone that has like dots for every day, and it's like green, 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 green. Oh, there's ovulation. Red, 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 red. And if there's like 2 or 3 days off, it's like warning, warning, warning. Like it's very clear if you know, like. But there are some girls out there, I'm sure, who just are willy-nilly and don't track that
and
shit.
I knew girls when I was an athlete. I knew girls whose periods were thrown off by that. You know, because if you work really hard,
hormones and stuff.
Yeah, it can delay it and offset it and stuff, but not by 6 weeks. You know,
not by 6 weeks. No.
No, I get that. There can be a little denial, and that can last for a while and stuff. But 6 weeks in, like boobs are tender, and you know, shit happens. Like,
well,
it's not
I think you're
assuming.
The same. And then the other thing, Woody, is I guess you're assuming that this is a case where like you got pregnant right after your period, and so the first 4 weeks of pregnancy were
I'm rusty on this. I'm assuming that it's the middle. So there's 2 weeks where you wouldn't even expect it, and then 4 weeks where it's late.
Yeah, because it could move around, and there's a little bit of a buffer of like, well, how would I have known? But I think and again, because we have cocks, we're not allowed to really discuss this. Although
yes, we wouldn't want to be politically incorrect right here on the show.
No. But thank God, even though we have cocks, we're allowed to pay into systems that fund that.
I will
but
only
no voice
be politically
in
incorrect. I'm only politically incorrect when it's funny, like when I'm talking about baby brains. But I don't think that I really have much of a ground to stand
I don't really
on.
think this is a good idea. Like, I don't think they should be rolling it back this far. Like, I did see some compelling points from women being like, yeah, 6 weeks, like that could be kind of easy to miss, but I don't know. I really don't.
Well, those 25 Alabama lawmakers knew. Those guys, they were plugged in.
I mean, the governor signed it into law. She did.
Did she?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, like about the same percentage of men.
She's probably too old to get a period at this point anyway.
Are pro-life as pro-choice. Like they try and paint the picture of it's all these men pro-life.
Oh no, it's not just
pro-choice, and there's all these women pro-choice and a couple pro-life. And like I saw a graph, and it's like pretty much there's like a 1 or 2% difference in the genders.
I will say this:
I talked to a pro-life woman today, and I was like, I sent her this funny GIF or this funny meme, and it's a picture of like some people, and it's like, this is Georgia, and this is Alabama, this is Tennessee, this is Arkansas, and they're southern looking people, but not hillbillies per se. They kind of look like they're on a John Denver album cover. They look rustic.
Cool.
And then it's that fucking mutant from Goonies in the background with the Superman
Sloth.
shirt on. It's Sloth, and it's like Alabama. and she was like, oh, haha, is that because of the abortion thing? I was like, well, that and the incest. And she was like, well, you know, I'm pretty far right. I'm pro-life. And I was like, well, what about with rape and incest? And she goes, well, I think the killing taking a human life is wrong no matter what. And there's contraception, there's motherhood, there's adoption, and I don't remember what the fourth option was, but for me, it'd be a flight of stairs. Jesus Christ!
I think a lot of people become pro-life when it becomes easier for them to have a kid, right? You know, like once you're married, once you have a house, you can be like, all right, we don't need abortion anymore. You know, like we might not be planning a kid now, but we're planning a kid someday. We can be pro-life.
What if your 12-year-old daughter gets raped by her uncle?
They're thinking about themselves, right? I see that pattern a lot. You know, like once you're out of the woods and you're ready to have a kid, then I feel like pro-life becomes more common in that demo.
Yeah,
I don't know if you look at it by age. Like, of course, most
really, I bet you do see that.
I bet you see a difference for younger people because younger people always tend to do that. But those same people who are boomers now were, you know, probably almost that far into abortion but actually probably not. Abortion was only really normalized like in the mainstream, like what, a couple decades ago?
I wouldn't say it's normalized right now. You know, some of these ladies, they go and they have to deal with protesters calling them murderers and shit, and like holding dead fake fetuses up covered in blood and shit.
Yeah,
there's so much bad faith arguing over the topic of abortion where like both sides do a very bad job of I feel like understanding where the other one's coming from. Like what it really comes down to is one side genuinely and truly believes this is not a life, and the other side genuinely and truly believes it is. And you have like a misattribution of motives on both sides where it's like, these people don't care about life. They just want to control women's bodies. And it's like, well, no, they probably just believe it's a person. That's kind of Occam's razor here. And then they will be like, these people just get off on killing kids. And it's like, well, no, once again, probably Occam's razor would lead us to believe that they sincerely don't believe this is a viable human life worth saving. Like, I don't know. There's so much.
Sometimes there's a truth that's in between on the pro-choice side. I think a lot of times on the maybe see if this describes Kyle. Sometimes guys on the pro-choice are like, you know what? I don't think it's nice. I don't think it's a full-fledged viable person yet. But it's also, let's not pretend that it's like a kidney bean, you know, in your refrigerator. No one delightfully does abortion, but they also feel like the other choice, raising a kid being in a parent's not ready, you know, the ugliness that would come with having a kid that you're not ready for, that you don't want. You know, sometimes they're like, the greater crime is that. Yeah, inconvenience. I know.
The inconvenience. I think it's a person. I just don't care.
Dude, Kyle has the coolest abortion. I like that.
There are a lot of people who feel that way, just a little less clear cut.
I think it's a life, but I don't care.
I'm just being honest. Like, I think that's a little person inside of you, and just look. I've had a garden before. Sure, it's a lima bean, but it's gonna make a lima plant. I guarantee it. Every time I plant one of these lima bean seeds, makes a lima bean plant. I guarantee that fetus, as long as nothing bad happens, let's hope, it's gonna be a little person.
No one falls down the stairs.
As long as nobody falls down the stairs. Yeah, that's gonna be a little person. I just don't care. I just think that we should be able to kill the little people that grow inside us if we want to. If there was a little person growing inside of me, it should be my choice if I want to fucking kill it or not.
If it were a person growing inside of you, you wouldn't be able to kill it. There would be the CDC and the Pentagon would have you in there trying to figure out how this works. They're like, guys, we can finally get rid of women. Think of how much money we'll save. Everybody can be gay.
So I looked up
this one Georgia man figured out the secret. Learn how this 5 easy ways. This one Georgia man found a way around women. Yeah.
I looked at the pro-life, pro-choice stats by age, but I didn't find what I wanted. 18 to 29 is 56%.
Are you saying in favor of abortion?
These are pro-choice.
Okay.
18 to 29 is 56. 65 plus is these are pro-choice. Are 65 plus 44% is pro-choice. The young one 56% is pro-choice. So there's a lot more pro-choice, but that's not the group I wanted. I want like 13-year-old to 21-year-old. Because I bet that group is like 70% pro-choice.
Oh, I don't give a shit what 13-year-olds care about it.
Well, 13-year-olds can have children. So like that's the group I want. The people who would be fucked by having a kid, so to speak. You know, I want to know how many of them are pro-choice.
Got the cart before the horse there.
yeah, too. You know, because 18 to 29 doesn't tell me the whole story, right? I want that people whose lives would be really turned upside down. Whereas at 29...
I imagine most of the polling data is just based on voting age people.
I saw a Reddit post where, like, I might have them age mixed up, but I want to say this couple's 9-year-old daughter had gotten pregnant by a neighborhood kid, and that the 9-year-old wants to have the baby, and they're like, it was on the legal advice subreddit because they're like, we want to murder that baby that's growing inside that baby, but that baby doesn't want the other little baby to die. She thinks it's like a fucking cabbage patch that's gonna fucking come out of her ass or something, and we got to figure this thing out because the clock is a ticking, and I was just like, holy shit, how do you force an abortion on a 9-year-old? I mean, I know how you force an abortion on a 9-year-old, but like, how do you like legally force an abortion on a 9-year-old?
All right, we're trying to overcome your objections here. How about 3 trips to Disney World?
Jesus Christ.
3 trips to Disney World and your own My Little Pony landscape. Does that sound fun?
How about a pony?
What do children play with? A pony? You can't have a pony. That'll be a little more expensive than what you're having.
Why don't you go ride the pony for a little while right now, actually? Yeah. Let's slap the pony in the ass. Get up, cupcake.
You guys ever fallen off a horse?
Oh yeah,
No.
I have.
it's a long way down.
Did you hurt yourself?
I mean, I didn't break a leg or anything, but I bruised the shit out of my ass.
I remember being very surprised and confused. Kyle says it's a long way down, and I don't have a distinct memory of the fall. I do remember all these people were not horse people, except, of course, the guy holding the reins, right? I'm surrounded by, like, my dad, who's a city person, my mom, who's a city person, me, and they're all like, well, you got to get right back up on the horse. And I was like, all right.
I don't think an idiom is the best way to decide how the rest of the day should be planned.
Yeah, but no, the whole crowd was in agreement that if you fall off a horse, you have to get right back on. So I did. I was like, it wasn't really my instinct to get right back on. I wanted to learn from my mistakes. That's another idiom that might have fit, but no, that's not the one we went with. So
I
I
got tagged with the wrong idiom. Yeah.
I hopped right back on the horse.
Sounds like he was an idiot.
I think I've ridden a horse twice in my entire life, and both times it was just like, I don't understand why people are into this.
That was a lot of fun. I went to horse
Just
camp.
a bumpy four-wheeler that I can't control entirely.
I went to horse camp. I dug it. It was me and
You
13
and 100 13-year-old girls.
That's right. Just me. See, I had the world figured out early.
Well, the weird part was this is 2 summers ago, though.
Yeah, I was. It was
your
literally
30th
me
bash.
and a bunch of girls. There was not another guy in the horse camp, and I was okay with that. It was a real good time. I was literally riding horses with a bunch of girls. It was a good time. Then we'd all brush our horses and we'd take the saddles off and stuff. It was a good time. I don't know. I was like 12, 13, something like that. They were all 12 or 13. We went swimming in the afternoons. It was great. Horse camp.
We used to go to, I just Googled it to look it up and see if it was still around. And I've got like memories of the dance floor, but 1,000 Acres was a dude ranch in upstate New York. And we went on vacation there repeatedly. It was one of the things I really liked.
Yeah. Yeah. Horses are kind of cool. I like cowboy movies, right? So
It's a golf resort now. I'm just looking at my things. It's gone.
wah, wah.
Yeah, how sad.
We're supposed to get a bunch of tornadoes tonight.
Good luck.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I hope you get to see your game.
I hope so too. So
There's always the radio.
hopefully- Yeah, there's always the radio if I want to like kick it old school. But it's been I hope we don't get anything too bad. We're way overdue for a really bad tornado storm. Like we're supposed to get like penny-sized hail and like maybe like 60-mile-an-hour winds and then potential tornadoes coming down. So
I almost
We'll
came out
see.
your way. Do you remember last year I said I drove through Missouri on my way back from flying?
Yeah.
That would be this time of year. And the weather's so bad, I decided not to go.
yeah, this would not have been a good time.
Dude.
Like one of I was talking to one of my friends, like texting him, and he's like I don't even know, like a weather nerd. I don't.
Oh, yeah.
Like one of his hobbies is he like follows the weather really closely. And I was like out and about doing stuff today, and he texted me and was like, "Hey, you're planning on like being home tonight?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, my girlfriend and I may go to a bar or something later and watch the Blues game, or instead of watching it at home, maybe just because it's such a big game." And he was like, "No, dude, you do not want to be outside. We're going to have, I've been following this. This is potentially the biggest storm we've had in the last 6 to 10 years, as far as the sheer number of tornadoes that are coming down and the size of the hail concurrent with it, given the speed of this winds too. And so you're going to want to stay." And I just was like, okay, sure, fine. I'll stay home.
I
don't
think
care
I
about
like
the
your friend
fronts
more than
and the
you.
whatever.
The barometric pressure readings alone, Taylor.
He sends me like a screenshot of stats, and I'm just like, yeah, you're gonna need to tell me what the fuck this is. I'm not a weatherman. Like, I don't know.
No, the people who get into the ultralights and stuff like I do have to learn to read the weather, and I bet your friend would be a good resource.
He would, but he doesn't even fly around. He's just like.
I was wondering if he had a thing. Is he into
No.
paragliding or kite surfing or surfing or
He's
something?
more of like an
Excuse.
outdoorsy
It's
kind
not
of like
that.
camping, hiking guy.
Okay.
But not anything in the air, to my knowledge. So, regardless, though, I don't care about the weather.
Better park your car.
It's in my garage right now. So
That's a good
So
spot
that's good.
for it.
it is.
I would
It is.
think. We'll see what happens.
As long as
The
it's-
garage is still there.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna be so pissed if I lose my house less than 6 months into a tornado. But actually, I guess I won't be that pissed because I'll die in the process, more likely than not.
See, that's good thinking.
That is. Actually, my basement would be fine. Like it's deep enough under there. Maybe
You need to just like hang on to the squat rack.
I just like him holding kettlebells. Ah! I knew I did these shrugs for a reason.
Bye, honey.
I told you to squat more.
You're the one who didn't do farmers walks.
A treadmill's not helping you now, is it? You ever see the movie Twister?
Yes.
Yeah, terrible movie.
Oh man,
I enjoyed it.
I watched it in theaters. It was good. That was good CGI for the time. It was impressive.
Yeah, that was the late '90s. So, yeah, for
Yeah,
'99, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
But
Call it a wrap.
Yeah.
EKN 248. Good luck, St. Louis.
Watch Chernobyl.
thank you.